Welcome again to Joe's Stunner Boxing. One of the narratives that Tyson Fury likes to peddle is that he doesn't care about legacy or what anyone else thinks or anything like that, anything of that description. He is, a law unto himself, and what anyone else thinks, who cares? Who cares about fame? Who cares about money? Who cares about the rest of it? Look, this has particularly been prevalent over the last few months, maybe the last year. Let's go as far as a year, where he absolutely insists he doesn't care. He does care. I've always thought that he absolutely does care. And why do I think this? Quite simply, it's because of his actions and his behaviour. If we go way, way back to when he beat Klitschko, he was, palpably disappointed that he wasn't, steeped in praise, that there weren't, hordes of people at the airport, waiting for him. That he didn't have, and this is an important point, anything like the sort of reputation, plaudits, however you want to phrase it, that Anthony Joshua was getting at the time. And as a result, he began, within days to be very, very petulant about it and to make very provocative remarks that were almost, I've got my little amateur psychologist hat on here, but almost to the point where he was saying, F you to everyone for not appreciating his achievement, which was a great achievement. Going to Germany and defeating Klitschko was a tremendous achievement. He made comments about women, about gay people, and he was genuinely irate when people didn't turn around and say, "Yes, Tyson, that's really good." Oh, no. People weren't happy about that because people aren't going to be happy. We don't live in a society where women or gays are, second-class citizens, and most people say, well, we shouldn't live in that type of society. But he, of course, was putting it on his, hanging it on his religion, as a lot of people do. And suddenly that siege mentality, everyone's against us, was in. Now, what did he do? He went off the rails. He had his, perceived mental health issues. Does he have mental health issues? I don't know. I'm not a quack. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I do work with an awful lot of people who do have mental health issues. And I think that's a sort of catch-all phrase. I think a lot of people have behavioural issues, and it strikes me that Fury does have behavioural issues. I'm not saying he doesn't have mental health issues as well. Behavioural issues would be where you are compos mentis and you have mental capacity, but you behave in a way which is sort of void of any personal perception, or actually the perception of others, and how other people will view you and how other people should view you because of your behaviour. We then had the comeback, and suddenly he achieved a tremendous amount with the Wilder victories, and he was back in the saddle. He was back in, he was where he wanted to be. And then we had books, and we had, great, enormous purses for fights. But even after the first Deontay Wilder fight, there was an element of I'm doing things my way, because he went and he fought, Tom Schwartz, who was a knockover job, who, by the way, was on pay-per-view. Can you believe that? Otto Wallin, and then finally he fights Wilder again. But if you look back at his interviews and the sort of narrative that was coming out of the Fury camp, there was still a lot of irritation at the fact that he still wasn't as necessarily as popular, as much of a draw as Joshua, because Joshua had sold out Wembley a few times, and was selling out stadiums, arenas. Even though when he lost to Andy Ruiz, he was still doing pretty good figures. And Fury repeatedly, over the years, has mentioned Anthony Joshua. Even though, I mean, in my opinion, I thought he was always a better fighter than Anthony Joshua. But he still repeats it. He repeats it again. Joshua this, Joshua that. Lots of slights against Joshua. Lots of ridiculing. Lots of, I mean, maybe not obsessive, but Joshua was clearly living in his head. Even when he was damaged goods, Joshua was living in Fury's head. Then you had the great long, a lot of this stems from that great long saga where Joshua and Fury were supposed to fight, and then they couldn't fight because despite Eddie Hearn doing a ton of donkey work, leg work and so on, it was announced that nope, the arbitration had gone Wilder's way and he had to fight Wilder a third time. So he had that third fight with Wilder, and it was a brilliant fight. Brilliant fight, and Fury came through it, spectacular knockout and all the rest of it. Came off the floor again, as he always seems to want to do. And again, you know, he's back in the public's favour. Definitely, there was a lot of support for Fury. So what did he then do? Like anyone who is desperate for constant affirmation, for constant love, for constant affection, he then started to go off the rails. He then started to make demands. He then did what a lot of control freaks do, which is you have to be a sycophant. You have to. I will accept no criticism. I want everyone to tell me how wonderful I am all of the time. And if they don't, even if that criticism is constructive and comes from a good place, which is designed to help me, I'm not interested. I am the king. I am, in this case, the Gypsy King. I am the person who rules the roost. No one must cast any shadow on me whatsoever, no matter how legitimate. And so we had, the Dillian Whyte fight, which, bear in mind, Whyte was coming off a knockout 2 fights previous to Povetkin, who was pretty much shot anyway by that point, and then he won the rematch. But he got the job done. Good uppercut, got the job done. And then we had the debacle with Derek Chisora, completely worthless, unnecessary title defence against a man who was frequently beaten, had eked out a victory over Kubrat Pulev, which I thought he lost, to be honest with you. And Fury suddenly is defending. But he sells out Wembley Stadium. And who else has sold out Wembley Stadium a few times? Joshua. But he sells it out with 90,000 people. That's even bigger than Carl Froch and George Groves, So suddenly, he can tick one box. I got 90,000 people at Wembley. Everybody loves me. Then afterwards we had who did he mention when he came off when he came out of that fight? Anthony Joshua, because Joshua lost twice to Alexander Usyk, and suddenly it was a case of go on, I'll fight you. Suddenly I'll fight you. Go on, but you've got to sign the contract by what was it? November the 7th, I want to say. December the 7th, November the 7th, I can't remember. November the 7th, I think it was, 2022. And even Fury's own team was saying, no, hang on a minute, give it time, we can sort this out. No, it's got to be 5 o'clock on that stipulated date. And really, that smacked of him just wanting to sort of rub Joshua's nose in it. Joshua coming off 2 defeats, had that meltdown in the ring, kind of made a bit of a fool of himself. But Fury, no, he wanted to turn the screw and really, batter Joshua into the mud while he was down. Take him when he was at his most vulnerable. We then had a great long saga with Alexander Usyk, in which Fury quite clearly ducked Usyk without a shadow of a doubt. He was the one moving the goalpost constantly, making all sorts of demands, and that didn't happen. What instead happened? Francis Ngannou, and we know how that went. So gradually, throughout the whole, I'd say probably from the Chisora fight onwards, we had a gradual downward slope of popularity for Fury. Ignoring the fanboys. I mean, anyone with kind of objectivity was losing patience with Fury until when we got to the Ngannou, the ducking of Usyk and the Ngannou fight, that it was in freefall. Now, with the disaster of the Ngannou fight itself, and it was a disaster, even though Fury got a very, very wafer thin decision. Fury's stock has never been lower. Now, this for someone who craves attention, who craves affirmation, who craves love from the public, who craves money, because he's proved that over his last few fights that he's desperate for the money. That's an absolute anathema. And he has now got to somehow, now that you've had the disaster of the Ngannou fight and he's signed to fight Usyk, he's either going to retire, or he's got to face Usyk. Now, I don't think he'll retire, because I just don't think his ego, his extremely fragile mentality out of the ring, not in the ring. In the ring, he's immensely strong, Fury. Out of the ring, he's very, very vulnerable. I don't think retirement, leaving on this, with everything, with his legacy in shreds, is going to be an option for him. I think he's going to have to fight Usyk. I don't think it will be on December the 23rd. Another piece of humiliation, because a week ago he was saying, Usyk's got to fight me on the 23rd, otherwise he'll get sued. Now suddenly, with the Ngannou fight not going the way they'd hoped, Fury is the one who has to fight on the 23rd, or he could be sued. I don't think he will be sued, and I don't think he'll fight on the 23rd. But I think he's got to fight Usyk. And a lot of people are saying he won't fight Usyk, he'll duck Usyk and go for Ngannou again, a rematch. Well, I think Ngannou, yes, he wants a rematch to put that right, but I don't think he's going to duck Usyk. I don't think his ego, his fragile psyche will allow that. And he knows damn well that his stock has never been so low, that he has been ridiculed gradually. Like I say, it was a downward trajectory, and then suddenly free fall. Someone as vulnerable as Fury in terms of ego, in terms of desperation to be accepted. He won't tolerate that. He won't want that. He won't want to walk away with that. That'll haunt him. That'll eat him alive. And in many respects, he has made his own bed. You could say Frank Warren as well, although, to be honest, managing Tyson Fury, promoting him, must be a nightmare. So yes, I never ever bought the idea that he never cared about. He cares very, very deeply about his legacy, about how he's perceived now and in history, But he tried to take shortcuts, both in terms of not fighting regularly, not fighting his contenders, with the help of the WBC, only having one mandatory, which was White, who again had lost 2 fights ago by knockout. It just didn't turn out. It hasn't turned out the way he wants. He's cut corners in terms of not keeping in shape. He was way out of shape for Ngannou physically, and probably mentally wasn't prepared. He's tried to take the easy route to greatness. There is no easy route to greatness. There is none. But he cares. He cares very, very deeply about his legacy and about how he's perceived by the public. The evidence is, and certainly he cares about money. Jesus Christ, he cares about money. What, 26 quid to watch him beat up a shot Chisora? Come on, man. The Ngannou fight, however much he got, 50 million quid or dollars or whatever it was for fighting a novice. No, he cares. He cares. What's next? I think it will be Usyk in 2024, probably Marchish. I know they're supposed to be doing it during Riyadh season, but contracts, if both parties are amenable, can be amended. So expect it, I'd say, next year probably. But I don't think he'll duck Usyk. He wants a rematch with Ngannou, definitely. But has he left it too late? Is it too late for him to get into shape now? Has all that, killing yourself with putting on weight, taking it off, and so on and so forth, has he done too much of that? Is it catching up with him? I think it probably is. I don't think he's a shot fighter. I think the Ngannou performance was probably an aberration brought on by your own, self-neglect. But no, I think Fury is. He cares, and he's got a lot to do to claw back that damaged legacy. I wouldn't want to be in his head at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see which way he turns and how he behaves from here on in. But at the same time, if you are humbled, sometimes that can be a good thing, because it gives you that wake-up call. Because it makes you, that's how you learn, being humbled. kills the complacency. It smashes your ego up. And then you've got a choice. You can either start climbing or you can wallow in your own self-pity. It's up to him. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, please, and hit the like button. That always helps us out. And I'm looking forward to reading your comments. And bye for now.